the other side of that is residency issues can only be at the time of hiring. Once you begin, you can move anywhere you want and they can't do anything.
Correct.
So we need to make it inviting for them to want to stay here. And we only have a few minutes left, but like from start to finish, what's the process? You know, the written test,
Well, first and foremost, it's the physical agility test, and that's where we
Physical.
also have to maybe relay the message nutritionally. There are standards that are online with regards to the agility exam. The next one is February 19th, for
It's
example.
called a chip test. You go to a certain place, you can probably tell you where it is, and they give you take a physical assessment.
you want to take it with me?
You run,
Yes,
push-ups, sit-ups, that's
I like to be where I'm at right now, okay?
Let's see if we can pass the test.
Yeah, I
Let's go.
have to be advocate.
And it's there are requirements based on age and gender, and it is a tough test.
So when you show up to City Hall, you gotta have this chip test she's talking about. You had to already prove your physical fitness, and you need a driver's license and a diploma.
Is it tougher than doing the fire department? They could to
we have certain chip standards, and I'll leave it at that.
Well, no,
You're
I
teaming up there.
understand. I understand where you're coming from with the fire
Well,
department.
I'm sure it's
Different
much
kind of
tougher than the
criteria.
fire department. No, it's a first kid.
Brian comes
Talking
from a
about
long
the
line of
physical, I'm
police
not talking
officers.
And
about
fire.
the other
And
Don't
fire.
worry. Oh, you got
My
fire
cousins, of course, yes. A lot
You
of
admit
respect
that?
for the Hartman Fire, yes. So when you come to City Hall, you need to bring a chip test card, basically that you've proven that you've passed this chip standard, which is Connecticut. It's online. If you Google it, CIHP, I'm sorry, CHIP, Connecticut Police Officer Physical Standards, you'll find it. You need the card, your diploma, or a GED, your driver's license, and I think is there a fee?
There is a fee, however, if there is a financial hardship, there is a waiver form that City Hall does provide.
So I've just got a few names going through my head here, but obviously the chip test doesn't follow you through your career.
No, it's
And you got it.
and
You just
actually,
got
when
it.
you laugh, but
You just got to start.
certainly
right?
it's something a lot of us take pride in staying physically fit and need to, and depending on what line of work we're in, and that's something that the unions talked about with the city in regards to
Yeah, keeping you guys fit.
yeah,
Wow.
people run across certain medical issues.
A lot of people don't know it, but typically Brian and I run a couple marathons a year.
Oh, yeah, right.
No, Brian.
Maybe you
seriously,
should go to Hartford High at the track and run around.
Brian
Kevin.
is a-
I
Brian-
can't even get you to come to Zumba.
Brian's a big runner, and actually
I'd
last
like to
year,
see
in
at
the-
Zumba, Kevin. That would be
Yeah, you
interesting.
tell him. I tell him to come to Zumba. It's, we have
actually,
men there.
last year in the Sandy Hook 5K, you ran with the governor as part of his security detail.
Yeah, it was-
So Brian is a big runner. But anyway, so it starts with the application, the chip test, then there's a written exam, a polygraph.
Oral board?
So
There's
that's
an
before the
oral
polygraph?
board.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then you have an interview with the chief, a psychological test. So there's a lot of steps.
Yes.
It doesn't happen overnight. You just don't put an ad in an application and get a job.
We lose most of our people in the background portion of it, going into the background. We're not hiring for the Boy Scouts, but there are post standards that we have to look into.
Yeah. Okay. No.
But the bottom line is we need people of color, we
Still
need
have
city
fire.
residents, and we need bilingual officers,
Mhm.
period. They're a great commodity to us and on all levels and in all sections of the police department.
And it's definitely it's a good career. It's an excellent retirement, good benefits. Yeah, it's stressful, and there's time. It's like being a fireman. When you work hard. There's other times where it's not as stressful.
Because firemen
but-
have like 3, 4, 5 days off and work 2 days. And no, so it's completely different, okay?
It's when you're called upon to work, and depending what shift you work, you may be running from call to call to call without even time to have a dinner break or anything like that. So they earn their money. It's not like it's, they just sit there and do nothing.
Have you gone to like maybe some of those big Hispanic church that have lots of young men or women,
I've relayed the message through Spanish radio.
Oh, okay,
It's pretty
Spanish
much,
radio.
I put out my contact information, and we've gotten a positive result as a result of that. And again, it's just sort of demystifying that,
Uh-huh.
it is a hazardous job in a sense, but you're also trained. And you're
Yeah.
trained with a lot of common sense, and let's face it, we feel safe going to work every day and pretty much going home every night.
Just like I do feel safe. And,
Well,
and
it's-
that goes back to, when you talk about crime is down in the city, how do you guys portray it out there to the resident to say, hey guys, it's safe. Because I'll have people say, oh, but I don't feel safe. I said, but I never feel unsafe in the city.
That's risky
You
business
know?
for us just to put that kind of
It's
stuff
very
out.
risky.
Look, we can tell you you're safe. If you don't feel safe,
If you don't
it doesn't
feel safe,
matter.
doesn't
You know,
matter.
and for us to say the numbers are this, this, and this, it's risky. If something happens, then we look the fool for doing that.
But
Okay.
even there's a lot that the average resident doesn't see, because even like with major crime, where Brian is the commander, their clearance rate for homicide incidents and shootings is very high, which means that if they arrest somebody in a homicide, the chances are they're not going to be on the street, although you never know what the courts are going to do, but they're not going to be on the street to commit another homicide. So there's a lot of things that, we could say crime is down, but there's so much more that plays into it. The shooting task force has played a huge role. And again, you talked about opportunities. That's something, the majority of the police department would love to be on the shooting task force.
Right.
Because they're doing all the, I don't want to say fun stuff, but they're doing the stuff that just really keeps your adrenaline going all the time. And it's also for people that, don't realize it, it's like probably the biggest fraternity or organization you could join. And I don't want to get sappy in saying this, but I've got enough friends that are cops that even if you don't like the guy that's working in the car next to you, you're going to do whatever you have to do to protect him. They're like,
Brothers.
when you're working,
Real
that's
close
like
brothers.
their brother.
It's a brotherhood.
Yeah,
It's a good way to
but the other thing that, and I think, I'm not sure you're doing it, you may be doing it, like when there is a crime or a murder or something like that, and a lot of people are always wondering, well, what next? Okay, somebody got murdered. Well, did they caught this guy? How does he put it out? How do you put it out there to let the resident know that, this guy is caught and da-da-da? Is that something you do so people can feel, oh yeah, that person got caught now, so I don't have to feel bad about things?
We try to put out as much good stuff as we can. That's both on regular media and social media to get the word out there. So we can only put it out so much without knocking on each individual door. But at the same time, we don't want to spike the football and celebrate, because generally when we arrest somebody on a homicide, there's a death involved. There's a family
Right.
grieving on both ends. So do you want to celebrate that stuff too much?
No,
So
but
it's a fine line.
but people wants to know, because people don't want to know that, okay, somebody got murdered, but nobody ever heard about who did it and did they get caught or
All
they
right, a
put
lot of
away.
times, we always put that out.
Okay.
We always do. Sometimes the media won't
Put it out.
correct. They'll cover the
I
yellow
know.
tape and they'll cover the death, and when it happens,
I
it's a
know all
splash.
about that.
And then they won't follow up. And that's something that's our job here, is developing a relationship with the media to get them to put that good
Put
stuff
those
out.
But just one other thing, make Brian squirm a little bit before we go off the air. Chief Ravella started a great program, the Faith-Based Initiative, which I'm very disappointed in the way it's being handled. Brian has a great sergeant who, after every shooting, puts out details to all the faith-based community. But because it's been kind of taken over by the city council, nothing happens.
Oh, you can't
It
put
was
your
supposed to
hands
be,
in that.
no, it was supposed to be a great program. The faith-based community came to the table. We've had meetings, and I'm tempted on one of those emails that Sergeant O'Brien sends out to reply all, what do you do with this? Because there's so much information that goes out.
So why don't we go to city council and tell
Well,
them, take their hands off of
They
it
should
and let it do
they
it?
should let it go back to Chief Ravella. But it was Chief Ravella's initiative. He had great plans for it. I think it would produce great results if they let him do what he planned on doing. It's when you get politicians involved in things,
Yeah, it
they
never
just
works.
screech to a halt, and
Never
it's all
works.
about taking care of the poverty pips and not doing what the program was supposed to do.
Well,
Right.
we all want the same thing. We want violence reduced. I know for certain city council wants the violence to come down. I know the mayor's office wants the violence
They
to
brought
come
that
down.
program to a screeching halt.
And I know that the chief does as well. We support the faith-based initiative, obviously. We need
There's
that.
a lot of
to-
resources committed to it also.
We need that to succeed. For us to succeed. it's
Wind
very,
it up?
very
Okay, we
important.
gotta wind it up. We gotta wind it up.
Okay, well, thank you
Yeah.
again. At City Hall, you can get an application or go check online and see what information it tells you about
Please come
applying.
apply if you live in the city and we want you to apply to be a police officer, please.
And I'd like you to come to our NRZ and talk
We
about
might al-
recruitment.
We're probably already off the air, but
Okay, well, have a good
no.
day,
We have like
everyone.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
Thank you, we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Next week, we may have the First Lady.